with this new Dometic multiplex system, if I need to change any settings, where can I do that? How can that be done?
So, as with anything, there's a settings screen. So from here, in this settings screen, you'll find numerous amounts of kind of background settings, which again, we'll all preset at the factory to what we would recommend. But anyways, from here, so there's just a general info tab. It's got a little bit of legal information and a bit of an about. If we ever need you to figure out the firmware version or software version of your screen, say you need an update, then you'd go into the screen. What we'll talk a bit about later is the mobile app. So here's a few settings just to help you get started with that. And here, if you have the optional satellite dish, this is where you'd power the optional satellite dish with just the press of a button. As well as the default room. So the default room kind of holds a few of the buttons that be most used in that room. So here you can change it depending on what room the screen is in, but again, we have this preset at the factory for which room it's actually in. And the standby screen here, you can choose that. So right now it's set to clock, but you can edit that. So you can have it set to clock, you can have it dim automatically or go to sleep. And so that way the screen would go black, and all you'd have to do is just tap it and it would wake it back up. I'll just put it back to clock for here.
How long does it usually take for these screens to go to sleep?
4 minutes. So heat mode here, that is tied in with your climate. So here it says heat pump, so that means when you want to heat your unit, it will automatically default to the heat pump and it won't run on the furnace. But you can change that, so you can edit this. So you can have it either on auto, so that way it will use both the heat pump and the furnace. And the furnace will only turn on if your climate temperature is 5 degrees or higher than your current inside temperature. Or you could have it just set to furnace, so that it'll only run your furnace. And say you're dry camping and you don't want to be running your generator, so then your furnace is a good option just because that runs off of your 12-volt system. And your next setting here is your temperature system, so you can choose between either Fahrenheit or Celsius. Your brightness mode, it can be either automatic or manual, kind of like you have on your phone. So if it's on automatic, it will sense the ambient light and will dim automatically. Or if you have it switched to manual, you can manually just set the brightness here to whatever you want. Audio level, so that's just the level of audio of these little clicks. So if you want to turn it off, you would just turn that all the way down to 0. Your time format, that can be either your 12 or 24-hour time format. And your inverter sleep enabled, either on or off. So that is the setting when you would turn on your disconnect switch, whether you want your inverter to be on or off. So if you have inverter sleep enabled set to on, your inverter will be off by default when you turn on your disconnect. And if you have it off, then your inverter will come on by default.
So then we should be able to use the receptacles inside the coach to charge a laptop.
Exactly.